right, so we're glad you've joined us. We haven't met yet. My name is Jeff Leake. I'm the lead pastor at Allison Park Church, and I'm going to share a message in just a moment with you. We want to welcome those joining us online, those joining us in any of our physical locations. We have 4 campuses, and then we have our brand new God Behind Bars location. Would you just give it up for them? We love you guys. So glad to be in your life today. And so we're in this second part of the series we started last week, Emotional Roller Coaster. And we're talking about, we did some learning. We went to find Google Trends in our 3 counties, and we discovered what people were asking in relation to their emotional and mental health, because this is mental and emotional health awareness month in our country. And we found out people are asking questions about, what do I do with my shame? How do I handle my doubts? What do I do with my anxieties and depressions and fear? And so what we thought we would do in this series is dive into the biblical contribution to your mental health, right? So we know your mental and emotional health is affected by a lot of different things. Physiology can affect what's happening inside of you. Relationally, there's a lot of things that can affect you. And then, of course, there is spiritual roots. And so our job is to deal with that particular part of the equation in this series. And we've used the roller coaster metaphor because this is what it feels like sometimes, right? We are up and down and all around, twists and turns, and trying to figure that out. And it's a good metaphor for us in Pittsburgh because we have Kennywood, which I understand historically, I don't know anymore, it's always been known as the roller coaster capital of the world. How many of you are Kennywood fans in the world? All right. So I remember growing up, going into Kennywood and taking my kids there. I haven't been there in years now, but, I know they have the famous Thunderbolt, right? And then the Racer. And then there's been a series of Phantom stuff that's happened. I don't know which one it is now, Revenge or something like that, right? But my favorite is the Jackrabbit. Okay, I love the Jackrabbit. And I remember as a kid, and I remember my kids, 5 kids, each one of them wanting to be tall enough to ride the Jackrabbit. And I don't know how they have it now, but there was a Kenny kangaroo that you had to stand next to, and they would always get on their tiptoes to try to get to that place where they were eligible to ride the ride. And then finally, when they were, we would get into the Jackrabbit. And again, I haven't ridden this ride in a while. Tell me if it's different later, but they used to be all you had was like a leather strap. Yeah, and so you'd get in, I want those bars to lock me down, right? So you get in and you got all this leather strap, and then the first dip down, it kind of lifts you off your seat, doesn't it? And so I remember which kid it was, they were all excited to get on, and then we went down the first dip, and they went up like this, and they looked over at me like, are we gonna die? I pinned them back down, we're gonna be fine. And then the ride was over, we get off the Jackrabbit, and I said, was it fun? And they're like, oh, yeah, right? Because sometimes it's like terrorizing what we go through, and we pay for it. Isn't that wonderful, right? Okay, so listen. Emotional roller coaster is often like that. Our lives are affected by so many different complications, and they're up and down and all around. Now, sometimes you might be in a steady moment, and you might just be kind of a steady person. But no matter who you are, there is something that will show up in your journey that's too big for you. A diagnosis, a situation with your job, something with your family, whatever's happening in your world, that all of a sudden you find yourself dealing with all kinds of emotions, and they often just show up in rapid succession. And we find ourselves kind of like I feel when I go on the rides that are spinny rides. I want to yell to the operator, get me off this thing, make it stop. Okay, I want to take you to that feeling right there. Because a lot of times in life when we are on our own emotional roller coaster, we want to shout to someone in control of the world to say, make it stop. Is there something I can do to make this not so traumatic, to make the dips not so deep, to make the security I feel a little bit more stronger? This is the question we want to address. And actually, one of my favorite New Testament verses, I want to take you there, actually describes one of the ways that we get some stability in the turbulent moments, how we end up with some security in the emotional craziness. And it's found in the book of James. So James is writing this letter, and in the very first chapter, he says this in verse 5, if any of you lacks wisdom, you don't know what to do, you need an answer, you should ask God, because he's the source of the answers we need, and he gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you. Oh, it's such good news, right? That you cannot disqualify yourself from help from God. No matter what you've done or how bad you've messed up, If you turn to heaven and you're like, God, I need your help, he is not going to judge you and disqualify you based upon your track record. He gives generously to all without finding fault. But then it gives some conditions. But when you ask, you must believe and not doubt. This will be our topic for the day, the word doubt, the idea of doubt. Because the one who doubts is like the wave of the sea blown and tossed by the wind. This is sort of another picture of what it is to be turbulent emotionally. That person should not expect to receive anything from the Lord. And actually, the next verse I don't have on the screen, but I have it memorized. They are a double-minded person, unstable in all that they do. Now, this particular verse says, when you ask God for something and he gives you the answer that you need, you got to grab that answer or else you will contribute to the turbulence. If you receive a word or a promise from God and you don't hang on to it, you will contribute to the turbulence of the waves of the sea and foaming and fomenting and the wind blowing and the storm raging. It will get more intense. But if you receive something from God and you grab hold of it, it provides a source of strength and stability and security. It's kind of like picture this now. You're in the ocean, you feel like you're drowning, the waves are up and down, the wind is blowing, you're looking for an answer, and then a ship comes by, and you're like, I need some help, right? And they throw to you a life preserver that has a rope on it, and they say, grab the rope, grab the life preserver. And you're like, but I don't know if it will really help me. You're like, but I need help right now. They're like, Bab, it's right there, grab it, right? You won't actually get the help you need unless you grab hold of the answer that's in front of you. And so when James says they're a double-minded person, unstable, and all let not that person think they'll receive anything from the Lord. It's not that God is trying to withhold stability and strength from you. It's that stability and strength only comes when you access what he makes available to you. And so doubt has an effect on us to prevent us from getting the strength and stability that we need. And the more that we doubt, the more that it foments and the more turbulence arises. Okay, you get what I'm saying now. Now, some of you are like, oh, great, that's all I needed to hear today. Because that's me, I doubt. Now, Pastor just called me unstable. Oh my goodness, and I can't receive anything from the Lord. Okay, let's just slow down for a moment and realize no matter who you are or how long you've been following Christ, how much of a spiritual giant that you are, we all struggle with doubt. None of us are so strong spiritually that we never have a moment where we stop and we don't stop and ask, God, I didn't think it would be like this. We all have moments where we say, I didn't think it would feel like this. I didn't think it would turn out like this. What is going on right now? I know you made a promise to me, but can I trust you in this situation? Because everybody, regardless, maybe you're not a person of faith yet, maybe you're not yet a follower of Christ, or you're new in that journey. We all hit moments in our life where we have some questions, and even the strongest amongst us at times are given to that moment and say, I don't know. Do I still think this? Do I still believe this? Do I still have a conviction about this? Is this really true? Are you really there? How many of you would admit, like me, that you sometimes feel these things? Okay, you're not alone. Okay, so there is this myth to think that those who are spiritually mature never struggle, and only those who are defective spiritually or immature struggle with doubt.